Okay, Richmen, welcome to Bookmark Conversations with Penny. Thank you so much for making time to chat to me today. I'm quite very excited to actually chat to you. I actually finished reading the book yesterday. So, welcome
All
to
right.
my show. And thank you so much for making time to actually chat with me today.
No, I should be the one to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story, but also that you read my book. I'm curious what you think. And you can give me feedback. I will not be offended if you hated it.
No, 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 no. No, I have, like I finished it yesterday. I actually told my family, please, can you give me some time as I was reading on Kindle, and it tells you also the timing that you're gonna be finishing the book in such time, you know. And then if you go back, that's a problem with Kindle. But anyways, I read it through Kindle and I enjoyed your book. I enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you.
So thank you
Jeff
so much
Bezos,
for the book.
Jeff Bezos, Amazon.com, he delivers. He doesn't mess around.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. So, to my viewers out there today, I'm interviewing Richmen Mahlangu. He is a South African, but now he is staying with his family in Las Vegas. We catch him now while he's on holiday in Austria, and that's a very interesting city for him. And that's the first question I want to ask you. You are in Austria. How does it feel for you? You know, how does it feel being there? Do you frequently visit Austria? And mostly because of the book, which you're gonna get to. So, do you normally visit there? How often do you visit Austria?
Um, I was actually here last year for a bit. I used to live here a long time ago.
Yes.
The weather is nice. It's a very expensive city. When I said I lived here in the 80s, I lived here. In fact, both of my kids were born in Austria.
Yes.
My older son, actually, Nicholas, he's 30 now. He actually was born in Vienna.
Mhm.
My other son was born in Bregenz, which is the west side of the country. But it's a very safe city at night. You see women walking around at night, going for a jog. The public transportation in a lot of these European cities is impeccable because due to their social system, obviously in a social system they take 40% of your salary, but you guaranteed good cheap public transportation, you guaranteed retirement, you guaranteed insurance. So I didn't actually plan this year to come here. I was
Mhm.
supposed to go from South Africa after my book launch to Wimbledon to take my old coach as a show of gratitude who gave me free lessons to change my life to be what it is today. But he's 83 years old, Mr. Tim Gray,
Mhm.
and his back is hurting. So his
Really?
yeah, his
Yes.
doctor said, no, you can't do that. You can't be standing at Wimbledon all day. So, and then I decided to come to Vienna and read my autobiography that just been re-edited. So that's what
Okay.
I'm doing.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So, what I wanted to ask you. So, the first question, like you've already told me about Austria and why it's important for you, because you stayed there for quite a while, according to your book, and that's where you met your wife. Interestingly enough,
Ex-wife, my
she's
ex-wife.
your ex-wife. Yes,
Yes,
thanks for
let's
the
get this straight
correction.
now.
Yes, she's ex now, and that's where you met her. So she's quite important in your life, obviously, in your story. So Austria is important, to you for so many reasons as well, and your son, like you mentioned, as well. So what I wanted, my first question to you is your tour. Let's talk about your tour in South Africa. You just had your tour. Was there a specific reason why you timed your tour to actually be on the specific dates when you came to South Africa? Was there a reason why you decided to come this time in South Africa?
Well, I'm off. So I work for the Clark County School District. I'm a high school counselor. And we are off between, so my last day of work was May 21st, and I don't go back until July 30th.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I spoke to Musa Zulu, who was my manager for the tour, we looked at the dates and looked at the time because most of the time when I came to South Africa, the schools were closed, and I wanted to come this time when some of the schools were open because the whole idea of this tour was to or the of the book this book is written specifically to empower young people who come from a background like myself, success beyond expectations.
Expectations, yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to go to get an opportunity to go to the schools and speak to the kids about the importance of committing to higher education, share my story, and basically just kind of put it in simple terms that regardless how difficult things are in your life, everything depends on you, the decision that you make. You can make it because I was able to do it, and I believe that you can. So we look at the time window, and then Musa and I constructed that tool based on that skill.
On that.
That's how that works.
Yes. Okay. I don't know if it's your network because it's on my side. Can you hear me well?
Or did I lose you?
Yeah, you're back now.
I can hear you. You're frozen for a minute.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. Is it my one or is it your one? Well, cuts, don't worry. So I'm just asking if it's your one.
You frozen there for a minute.
Okay. Yeah,
I can hear you now.
Yeah, you're back now. Okay. So awesome. So so what I wanted to ask you, when was the last time you were in South Africa? Before June, before your tour now? When last were you in South Africa?
Before the pandemic, the 2019.
Before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay, so South Africa now, you stay in America. And you left in apartheid times. Yes, now we are a democratic country. Looking back, do you see like a lot of changes? Is it better than it was before? There's a lot that has changed. I know, but I'm just saying, in your view, do you think or do you feel like there's a lot that we should be doing as a democratic country? Or, we are there, we've done the most. How do you feel when you get here, when you see everything? You visited Lamontville, you visited Pietermaritzburg, you visited so many places that we're going to talk about, but more especially Lamontville, where you grew up. So now you left during apartheid time, but you've come back a couple of times. But as you come back, do you see a lot of change? Do you see us progressing, to where we should be as a country? Are you proud to be a South African, like type of thing? When you are here, you are like, I'm very proud, from where we come from.
So in my the first question you asked, I wanted to mention that one of the things I wanted to come to South Africa for is, of course, to celebrate the 30 years of democracy in our country. Yeah. The other mission was to thank all my mentors, the people that mentored me when I was a young boy, that helped me be successful. I've got a bit of a flu, so I've got to wipe my nose. I'm sorry.
Fine.
And I can maybe tell my voice is a bit funny. And then, of course, going through the schools and then promoting my book. But in terms of how the country has progressed, I think certain things have progressed, things that I have physically can touch. I have nieces. One of them just received the LLB 3-4 weeks before I came, which those opportunities did not happen before. But and of course, the fact that people can live anywhere they want, that's a good thing. At the same time, I must say that unfortunately, like my township, certain things looked exactly the same as they were before, which is unfortunate. Because there's a lot of reasons. I'm not a politician. I don't get too much involved in politics, but I can tell you that from my own personal experience, I don't think that, I think it was a good thing that after this election that we have two parties now that are involved into running the country. Because I do think as good as the ANC means well, or some of the people mean well, I don't think we have enough, they have enough people with the experience to run the country. And if any country that is run by one party with absolutely no check and balances, to me, I don't see that as a successful solution. So the fact that the Democratic Alliance has got a stake in it now. The first evidence when that happened, in the stock market, the dollar basically just shot up to show that a lot of people outside the world, in terms of investments, they looked at South Africa differently. There's a lot of people in the Democratic Alliance that have the experience. They were part of running the country when it ran before. It scares other people, obviously. They were part of the apartheid regime. But at the same time, we got to look forward. If I have people in the country that have the experience, you know, I don't know whether you saw this movie, The Invictus, with Mr. Mandela.
Yes, I did. I
Yeah,
think I did. I
there's a
did see
scene
that.
there. There's a scene there when he first walks into the office, and there's a lot of white people carrying their boxes, leaving the offices, and he asks them, "Where are you going?" And they say, "Well, we thought we were going to be fired." And he says, "This, are you guys South Africans?" And they say, "Yes." He says, "Well, let's get to work." I think South
Mm,
Africa has to be, everybody needs to be represented, because we were not represented during apartheid. We were not happy about it. So you cannot
mm,
have the bookload of people, the Indians and the coloreds and the other white people who are paying taxes, raising their kids. They want to make sure that their kids have a realistic opportunities to have in corporate South Africa. So I think there's an improvement, but you know, again, I'm not pointing fingers at people. I don't get involved a lot in politics, but there's a
mm,
lot of opportunities in South Africa. You have shows like this, for example, where you can invite people like me to come
mm,
talk. I don't think that was possible before. Um, but the township, there's a lot of work to be done. We still have a lot of kids who are not in school, early
yes,
pregnancy.
yes,
I think the big part of the education that has to improve. But you know, you look around the world, not just in South Africa, in low income areas like people of color, we are basically confronted with the same problems of the vicious cycles of early pregnancy, a lot of
mm.
crime,
And poverty, yeah.
kids not attending school. So it is heartbreaking in some way, and I basically want to come to South Africa and do my little part, because there's a lot of people who came before me, which we know, Biko, Mr. Mandela, Mr. Biko, Mr.
Yes.
Mandela, who basically sacrificed, a lot of them, their lives. Some of them did not get the opportunities to actually enjoy the freedom that we're enjoying today. They were trying to open doors, so I have opportunities that I have today. So I feel like I owe them.
Mm.
I owe them big time. That's why I come home and finance all my tour out of my own pocket, to be able to do my part to empower kids, because they did that for me, so to have these opportunities.
Yeah, awesome. And your visit was right on time, when we were celebrating 30 years of democracy. So it was a perfect timing. And you just mentioned now about, the book that you come to give back. You just mentioned that there's a clip that I saw on Facebook in one of the schools that you visited in Lamontville. I think there's one boy that posted something about the scholarship. There's something about the scholarship, about the results. I'm not too sure. Just tell us about that story, because I saw it a little bit, and he was asking about something that you said when you were at that school about the results and about the scholarship. So
So
just
there was
tell me about
Lamontville High
that.
School. There was
Yeah.
Lamontville High School. So this is going to be very important to be clear that I'm
Yes.
not the one who announced that. So Musa actually announced. So what happened, that Musa asked the kids, because again, our goal is to empower the kids. He said to the kids, "How many of you believe that you're going to graduate in honors this year?" And none
Yes.
of the kids put their hands up.
Oh,
And then he said, "Well, we're going to find you guys some motivation. If you
okay.
put your hand up and you can graduate in honors, I will finance your trip to go and spend, I don't know, a week or two with Mr. Mahlangu in Las Vegas."
Okay.
And then the boy, I forgot his first name, unfortunately, raised
Yes.
his hand, and I think he's doing well in school. And he said, "I'm going to graduate in honors." And then he wrote a letter after we left to Musa and I. He found my email address. He wrote
Hmm.
us a letter, and we posted that. So that's the goal. We are trying to find ways to empower kids. I got empowered through tennis, and a lot of other people that were my mentors, like Professor Zulu, KK Mtiane, that
Hmm.
basically did so much for me, took me away out of the hardships of being trapped in a ghetto and learning all these bad examples. So this young man, he's on the right track. He feels empowered. He's gonna sit there and hit his books, and then I hope he gets it. And then Musa's gonna have to pull up the check and sign the check and
Yes.
buy a ticket to Las Vegas.
Exactly. And you know what now? That is the thing with social media, because that as soon as I saw that, I was like, hey, okay, this commitment has been made. And I want to ask Mr. Mahlangu about this, because this boy is gonna do whatever it takes for him to actually get that visit, or whatever it is that was promised. And it's a motivation for him now. Because remember, some people, like everybody, I'm not even say, I'm gonna say like children, like youngsters or whatever the case may be. We work towards something. There's something, some of us get pushed, to do something because there is a goal that we need to get to. We are not just doing, like getting somewhere, like carrying on as if it's normal. So now this boy he's now has a goal. He's going to be pushing to get there. So which means that the means to actually get him to that promise must actually begin now, because I'm confident I'm going to be following his story, because I need to see where he gets. I'm definitely going to be reaching out to him and checking how far he is, his grades. Is he still confident that he's going to reach that goal? So I'm going to be following up on that story. I am.
We're going to find a way. We're going to find a way. So we're going to find a way to. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, we're going to find a way to get these our young people to dream. As a young boy, as you read the book, I dream every night about flying to America, overseas, I should say, to America. That dream, I had that every single night of they turn off the lights in our house and I'll fly off the roof and go overseas. And one day I find myself sitting in a plane in Johannesburg waiting to fly to Austria. So these dreams do come true, but people can't just sit here and hope things are going to happen. They're going to take action, because dreams without any action become pipe dreams, which is the subtitle of Success Beyond Expectations.
Yes.
He's on the right track. He was brave, and we appreciate him being brave. We just need to get the work done.
What I like about what you just said now, in your book, you talk about Mr. Ray. That you remember the first time what you said. Now let's just take it to this boy now. This boy has been is working towards this goal now, right? Now in your book, you are mentioning your first disappointment when he promised that he was going to take him with you, remember? And then it didn't happen. What I liked about the book was the fact that I was saying, what you said on the book was very profound, because you did not give up and stop training and left everything, and said, oh, well, it didn't happen, it will not happen. But you pushed, you trained, you did everything, so that by the time that opportunity comes again, you were ready for it. That's what happened. And that's most of us, we don't do that. As soon as somebody promises you something, that something is going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, then you tend to then leave everything. You're like, oh, well, that means it was not for me. But you are very, very persistent, because you say you're a positive person, and you you don't expect things from people. That's what you said. That's what one of the things that you said. You said you don't blame people for anything that happened in your life. And that is very, very profound, because young people, all of us, we depend on some people. You place your trust on people. You say somebody's going to do something for me. And if that person doesn't do that thing for you, you know what? You then leave your goals, your dreams, and then because you put everything onto that person. And your book is good for the kids as well, the ones that are growing up, so that they know that in life you're going to experience failures, which are the things that we're going to talk about just now, the 9 steps onto achieving your success. So you written 9 steps, and we're going to be talking about those.
Okay. Yeah. So so the idea, so this book basically came out of my autobiography, because I went back and reread my autobiography, which I just had it being edited by the legendary content editor Brenda George. So the 9 steps come out of this book, because I went and looked and thought, okay, this is the things that happened. This positive, attitude, and and believing in yourself, and then not like when things don't happen, you fail, and then you decide that I'm going to quit. So that whole idea of Ray, this gentleman, Mr. Ray Richmen, basically promising to take me to Austria, and it doesn't happen. The fact is, we fail every day. We, promise certain things and things don't happen. Excuse me. But it's easy when we start to blame other people. We want to find a way to justify it. We want to justify our own pain.
Yes.
The reality is, these negative things that happen in our lives, they're actually good things, because they teach us to develop resiliency. If we're willing to go through the struggle and the pain, we want to get ahead. It teaches us resiliency, mental toughness, realizing that failure is an everyday regular thing. We had a pandemic in the Spanish flu, I think it was 1912, killed millions of people. The pandemic we just had was terrible, but these things have always happened. But
Yeah.
somehow when something terrible happens, people pretend as if it's just the first time this thing just happened. I tell a story a bit about the death of my father, which was the first tragic thing that ever happened to me. And I say to people, the death of my father was the worst thing that happened to me. At the same time, is the greatest thing that happened to me, because if my father did not die, I would not be here today. My father was a minister. I would have had to go to church every
Yes.
Sunday. He was a
Yes.
minister. The church was
I
his
read
house.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of struggling, I don't see that as always a terrible thing. It's painful then, but the reality is if we want to get ahead and do certain things, you may go to bed feeling terrible, but the next day you got to get up and put one foot in front of the other and go to your objective. If you don't do that, you're going to sit there and one day you're going to wake up, you're going to be 18 years old, and you will have no education, you will have no place to go, and then you start relying on other people and blaming other people for
And
stuff.
blaming other people. Yeah.
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 So for
So I
me,
can
in the
tell.
sense of failure, I've struggled my whole life in a lot of things, and I just keep going forward, which is the reason why I empower the kids. I said, listen, and of course, the game of tennis has taught me a lot. Tennis is very much like life. You play a game, you play a great game, it's 1-0. The next thing you play a couple of shots, you miss terrible, you miss easy shots, and then it's just up and down emotionally. But
Yes.
what's important is to find a way through this to this journey, um, to try and figure out how do I get there and not let every single game I lose or a bad shot that I hit to think that I'm terrible. It's just part of the process. At the end of the day, my goal is to get there and finish the match. If I lose the match or win the match, it's not so important, but it's what I learned during this journey. How could I use that in positive information to
Yes.
get ahead in the future? And that is how I'm so
Exactly.
grateful that my kids learned that game of tennis as well, because I think it helped them to achieve what they have achieved.
Yeah, and you are mentioning your self-confidence. There's a because you're very, very, you're grounded, and you know what you've achieved, and you know where you're coming from. But then, you're very, very. I've met you. Fortunate enough, I've met you
Was that
before this
nice?
interview. So so nice. Thank you so much. Got a pleasure to meet even the family of Mr. Mtiane, who actually had
Yeah.
a huge impact in your life and your nieces as well. So thank you so
Did I
much
did I
for
behave did I behave myself when you met me?
because you gave me a rose, so you behaved. And the first one for that matter. So what I
I mean,
wanted to
hello.
yeah, so self-confidence, when I read your book, you were talking about tennis, also playing a very big part in terms of you having your self-confidence because you knew what you were capable of, and that's you and also interacting with so many people along the way. There's so many people that you've met in your sport in tennis, and it also builds your self-confidence. And I was thinking also to myself, I was like, okay, the way I talk now compared to before I started the book club, it's actually changed. The way I'm confident. I don't care even if it's a group of people I've never met. When I come there, I don't, I'm not nervous. I'm not shy. I'm confident because I know what I'm going to say. I know my story. So I think with you
Yeah.
as well, that's where you got your confidence because all the challenges build you and shape you to what you are and whatever you're gonna utter, on your whoever you're gonna meet, whatever words that you're uttering, whatever you're telling them about you knew your story, so you knew who you were. So that's where you got your self confidence as well. Which, by the way, I must say, when I met you, before I even came to you, I had this shivering in my body. It was like, God, this
Oh,
man has been,
rubbish.
yeah, I was like, this man has been through so much. I had not even read the book, which is very, very powerful. I had not read your book, but I knew your story. I did my own digging, and I was like, oh, thank God, like I'm here, and I can feel your presence. You felt your presence there, and you are quite a humble man, I must say, very, very humble.
Well, thank you. I think the confidence thing, I think so often we misinterpret what the word confidence actually means, because somehow there's a belief that when somebody is successful that they've got no flaws, they don't feel the pain,
Yes.
the reality is, for me, I think, is to not to worry so much about what other people think about us, what they think about me, what they're gonna think, and basically focus on the objective, knowingly that I could bomb, I could say the wrong things, I could fail, and if I do say the wrong things, I need enough strength to come back and say I'm sorry. I listened to an interview once in America. I don't remember who was being interviewed, and this person said, so often somebody run for a presidency and they lose. And some people say, oh my God, can you imagine how much they must feel they lost, this thing to be a presidency? And then he said, you never think about, for example, how many people this person got to meet, how many speeches they had to make, what they had to learn about international affairs, about other foreign countries, and speak to other leaders internationally, and understand the local politics, about the different departments in the country, between the government branches. There is so much knowledge to be learned and accumulated without winning, but just going through the process of what you're trying
Yeah.
to do. So my journey has been just so full of struggles and failing. And I mean, you read the book when I couldn't pass the national exam for the Clark County School
Yes.
District, end up
No.
losing my job. I
Yes.
was out for 5 years, which has affected
Sure.
my pension. But I basically just kept on taking the test because it was my responsibility. I don't read fast enough. There was part of having a poor basic
Yes.
education,
Yes.
but I didn't think there was somebody else's problem and start blaming other people. I basically look into myself. I got a tutor who helped me pass this test. So the idea of the confidence, I think we cannot acquire confidence without going through a certain experiences, develop character, fail, be successful, and then you
Mm.
develop the character, and then eventually there's certain things that you know. But the idea of believing in yourself, I think it's extremely important. When you
Important.
wake
Yes.
up in the morning, you look in front of the mirror, and you say, who is this? This is the person that you believe can be successful in life. This is
Yes.
the person that had a realistic chance to achieve great things in life. It's not
Yes.
what somebody else is going to tell me, because they can tell me whatever they want. If I don't believe it, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So that's how
Exactly.
my story basically started. I mean, it
Yes.
wasn't like this.
Okay. And another thing, what I wanted to ask you was the people that you've mentioned in your book, or people that have contributed to your success. Let's start with Mr. Ray, right? He did play a huge part, in terms of your
Oh yeah.
career as well. So, and a lot of other people, because there's a fun part that I want to get to, but let me just finish this one. And then what I wanted to ask you is, do you think if you have not met those people that helped you in your life, you will be where you are today? Do you think at
Well,
some point in our lives, we need people to assist us to get to where we want to be? Like you had so many people who assisted you, a lot of them.
so I'm gonna go back to the step, because this step is luck in my book.
Yes,
I think this is step other number 7.
yes,
Um, yeah, it's number 7 or 8 in my book, which is luck.
yes,
And I basically believe you create your own luck. By creating your own luck, I mean that in the book I say you need to go out and do positive things in life. So by going out doing positive things, the gentleman Tim Gray that I met at Ewema, that gave me my field lessons,
yes,
would have never met me if I didn't go out and practice against the wall on my own.
100%.
Uh,
100%. And your son also, you can match that with your son when he was spotted, when you guys were training. And you mentioned that under luck, under the 9 steps of 9 steps of success. Remember when he was also spotted for a commercial? And you put that under luck, because if you guys, you say, if you were sitting and watching TV, you could have been doing that, but you went out and his luck actually happened at that point.
yes, this is the story with Andre Agassi, the tennis player, where I was training with my son, and then there were people doing a commercial. But that actually started before. I was actually in Vienna. He was 6 months old. And I went to a tennis tournament in Vienna. Those days, I knew a couple of guys who were on a tennis tour. I could get tickets. And he was 6 months. Agassi had just won the tournament. I knew him from Vegas when I was in college. So he took a picture with my son at 6 months. 12 years later, I was training with him in Henderson at this tennis club. Two
Yes.
men walk up into the court and say, hey, we saw your son play. We have a commercial we're shooting. We would like to invite him. We think he's a good player. I asked him and he says, yes, he wants to do it. And we find out later that this was actually Agassi, that they were doing a commercial with Agassi and his wife, Steffi Graf. My son ends up earning $10,000 out of this commercial that he did. And the $10,000, he actually used that money to pay for college when he went to Harvard.
I saw that on the book. So, that's amazing. That is
again,
amazing.
so this is the luck. But the idea, again, going back a little bit, Tim Gray, I would have never met him if I did not get out and go against the wall and play. Benson Glover, the guy who actually started Benson Tusi, I'm sorry, he goes by Benson Tusi now. He came to that tennis court by my house. If I did not go down there and sit there and be like this a ball boy by default, I would have never met him. Ray Richmen, that we're talking about, if I did not go to Mitchell Park every day, I would have never met. So this whole idea of luck, these people from Ewema, Paulo Zulu, KK Mtiane, Mr. Ndimande, tons and tons of them, I would have never met them if I stayed at home and started smoking cigarettes with my friends and doing all the negative stuff. That would have never happened. So you, in some way, we do have luck, but I find somehow that you create your own luck.
Create your own luck. That's what.
And of course,
the right way. Yes.
Of course, there's certain things I probably would have never accomplished if I didn't meet certain people. But they just happened to be there, and some of them, they just saw me trying to achieve certain things. There's a man in America that saw me train with my kids every single day. His name is Mason Melmoth. He had just started a company. He writes gambling books. And he saw me train with my kids every day, every single day, because my kids trained every day 2-3 hours before they went home, did homework. At some stage, he decided to sponsor my kids. He gave them $5,000 a year for about 5 years for me to pay for their traveling expenses, pay for hotel, food, and all this stuff. He would have never done that if I was just hanging out there, not doing anything. But he saw the effort. He saw me, how much I basically pushed the boys, that there was an objective. But most importantly, he liked the idea that the whole goal of this was for the kids to access the best universities that America has to. Fortunately, that did work for my family.
That's awesome. Okay, so you returned to South Africa in 1994 in July. I remember on the book they are talking about July when you returned to South Africa. So how was your feeling? It was right after democracy. We just had our democracy a few months before. How did you feel when you landed? You left those times, and when you landed to South Africa that time, how did you feel? How proud, like as a South African, to come back like a few months later, here we are in a democratic country. How did you feel?
There was an interesting experience, because I didn't know what to expect. When I used to come to South Africa before that, I had my wife and the kids. My ex-wife, I should say, the kids were in the same passport. She had an Austrian passport.
Yes.
Basically, she didn't need a visa to come to South Africa. She could come because of a European passport. Whereas if I needed a visa for any country with my South African passport, it's always, was very difficult. I needed a visa for every single country, maybe except for Switzerland. Yes. Anyway, so I would come to South Africa before that, and I would go to through customs and say I have nothing to declare. They'll stop me and search my bags. She would be out waiting for me there 45 minutes to an hour while they're searching my bags, when I said I had nothing to declare. And then when I came in 1994, after the end of apartheid, was a completely incredible experience. I woke up, there's black people there who were customs officers, and they look at me and smile and say, hi, hello, Mr. Mahlangu. They obviously say my name, because overseas people say Mahlangu, they call me all sorts of names.
Yeah.
Mr. Mahlangu, welcome to South Africa.
Yes.
I mean, I'm like almost fell over, because these people are smiling at me. I don't have to explain, why are you coming home? Where were you? Like, because those are the questions I used to get.
Yes.
So they let me in. It's an interesting thing being a black man in the world, because in reality, when I went overseas, I didn't know a lot about Europe, America. I didn't even know. I thought it was the same thing. you think you have this idea of you going to these free countries where you're going to be accepted and stuff. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily like that. There's some countries there's more freedom than the others. But being a black person in the world, people always frown at us because, remember, I didn't even know the history of slavery in America when I first came overseas. I learned about it when I was in Europe. I didn't know the history of the Jews. So the idea of being a black man traveling the world, sometimes we do have this false ideology as South Africans, if you've never been out, to think that you're coming out there, people have got open arms, they're going to kiss you and love you and all this stuff. There are some people who want to be friendly and kind, but the majority of people, or a lot of people, are racist. So as a black man, in most countries, when you walk, you're looking over your shoulder because you don't know when you're going to be accused of having done this or that, or have stolen that, or somebody accuse you of having done something. And South Africa today, as much as it has its own problems, is the one country in the world where I can walk down the street and not look over my shoulder because I think some police officer is going to pull a gun on me or start accusing me of something. Obviously, we have crime in South Africa, in any other places. I'm not going to go out.
Yes, 100%, yeah.
But there was an incredible feeling to come home and not have to explain things and then not look over my shoulder when I'm walking down the street. Except that I have to drive on the left-hand side of the road, which is a little scary, but okay.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Okay, let's talk about your book. Okay, so basically your book, there are 9
steps
success
to achieve success.
Yes, to reaching your success. So I don't know, the order, are they in some, are you following the same order, or they are, it's just all of them? It's like in any order. There is no chronological order.
Basically, those are the steps that worked for me.
For you.
This does not necessarily mean that everybody has to follow that steps.
Those steps, yes.
I think people have to look at those steps and choose the steps that, or try the steps and see what works for them, because some steps may not work for certain people.
Exactly.
Whatever reason, because if you look at people who've been successful, and which I did read a lot of, I did a good amount of research about these steps, what other people have achieved and how. So they're not necessarily in a specific order, but the number one step, though, the one to believe in yourself, I think that's going to be the first one, because I don't think we can achieve anything. Yeah, I don't think we can achieve anything if you don't believe in yourself about who you are.
100%. I think that's one. So I'm just going to go through the steps, right, for people who are still going to read the book. So I don't want to spoil the book for people, but then the book, these 9 steps are the core steps of this book of success, like beyond expectations. It's believing in yourself. It's having patience, because that's very, very difficult. Remember, you were very, very patient in your book. You remain patient in all your failures, all your setbacks. You remain patient, hoping that, my time is going to come. So
can I add something to that?
Yes.
Success does not come overnight, is what I say. And one example there that I can give, it took me 24 years to get permanent residency in America. Starting from the first day I went as a student. Wow. I came to Austria one time during my junior year in college, and I went to apply for the visa at the end of the summer. I was working here, and then the American embassy denied my visa. I was here for 6 years. I wasn't able to go to America to go back to finish, but I waited for 6 years saving money. Eventually we did go back, and I did go back and finish school. I was older. So the idea of patience, you cannot even begin to understand how much patience pays.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other one is, so patience. My tablet's just... Commitment, luck, resilience. Did you have resilience there?
Yeah, resilience. I think resilience is either 4 or 5. No, it's one of those. But the idea between, with resiliency, again, this is the reality. To be able to develop and gain resiliency, this cannot happen without you going through life going through
Yes.
things, because
Yes.
you have to go certain things. You have success or you fail. In my situation, the failure, I develop a lot of resiliency, because sometimes when things, for example, I'll give you one example. When I was 16, I went with a group of tennis players from our tennis association to Cape Town.
Yes.
And so the tennis association I was involved in was composed of Indian, blacks, and coloreds, and then the whites played separately. So we go to Cape Town, and I meet this colored girl. And I was 16. I was a virgin. I was innocent. I didn't know anything, and I liked it. And she and I, we had this puppy love kind of thing.
Yes, kind of thing.
And she liked me. I liked her, and then we decided, okay, we like each other. And then at some stage, so after I got back home, we would I'll call her once a week, and she'll call me sometime, blah blah blah, and we wrote letters to each other.
Yes.
At some stage, I don't hear from her, and then I get a phone call one time evening in my house. This was her father on the phone, and he says, don't you realize that Renee is a colored girl? If you're looking for a girlfriend, you need to find you got to find people of your kind.
Your color.
No, kind of your kind, she said.
Yes.
I'm 16 years old. I don't even know what this means. And the mother, I send a picture. The mother takes the picture and cut it into little pieces, put it in an envelope, and send it back to me, and says, find your own kind. If you call our daughter again, we'll call the police and report you for harassment. That was painful at the time. But years later, when I started dating my ex-wife in Austria, her parents disowned her because she's dating a black man.
How?
They called me all sorts of names in the book, saying that they would be embarrassed to walk with our kids on the street, blah blah blah. But guess what? That experience from Cape Town of this parents of this young lady that I liked, that insulted me and called me all names in the book. I tell you, I was 4 times as strong when I ran into my ex-wife's parents being so racist. It didn't even faze me, because I had this experience. I'd worked on it. I'd worked on my own emotions. So this idea of developing that thick skin.
Yes.
And when these difficult things used to happen to me, I used to think, this is a cakewalk. Can you imagine what Mr. Mandela went through in Robben Island? With solitary confinement, torture, being in a hole for 6-7 hours and have to close it at the end of the day for no reason whatsoever. So to me, these things at some stage became like, this is a cakewalk, because there's people who came in front of me before me who have had to go through a fire for me to achieve this. So I lost my scholarship my first year in America. It was taken away because of some academic issues.
Yes, I saw that in the book. Yeah.
But this idea of mental toughness, of resiliency, I'm not giving up on my goal because I just had one setback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these steps are based on real life situations of mental toughness. Of course, the example is Mr. Mandela. You look at people like Muhammad Ali. He changed his name because he didn't want to have a slave name from his ancestors. And this guy refuses to go to Vietnam and fight because he didn't believe in going and killing innocent people. They put him in jail for 5 years. He was willing, he took action, he was willing to go through all that to achieve his goal. When I look at my life, I'm thinking, this is a cakewalk. I just failed the test. I want to go back and study more and get the test. My kids, they lose a match. We just want to go practice and try this stuff again. So I think the idea of life should be easy. Just strive and do this thing. It's not realistic. It's not going to happen.
It's not. And I like what you said in the book when you were talking about when you get into a difficult situation. And that's when I realized, I said, this book is not only for youth. You can't say, yes, there are a lot of elements when you are talking about preparing them for the future, for the interview, what to expect, when they're growing up, the challenges that they will meet. But then there was a section when you were talking about, like when you are facing a difficult situation. Let's just use an example, like as an adult, you are working and then you are working in a toxic environment and you are saying that, I cannot deal with this. And you are saying, instead of you quitting, stay in that job or stay wherever you are, whichever situation it is. And when you're smiling, because I think you know why I'm saying this, because there is a
Oh
personal
yeah.
story. There is a personal story in your book that told me that what you are saying, you lived that thing for 5 years, right? And
Yes.
that is truly remarkable. No one could do what you did. But anyways, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't want to spoil it for people. But then you were talking about you are saying, okay, you are in a toxic environment or you don't like where you are. Guess what? Stay in that place where you are. Don't leave until an opportunity comes up. Look for another opportunity. Once you are there, and this is what people these days are failing to understand. As soon as it's hot here, as soon as you feel like I don't like this job, I don't like my manager, I don't like the environment, people just give up. That's what they do. They just give up without a job. That's what they do. That's what people these days do. They'll just give up without a job and then, okay, I'm gonna wait and wait for another one. And you are saying wait for your opportunity. Just do what you're supposed to be doing there. Don't wait. Wait for an opportunity, and then when it comes, then just take that opportunity. Then when it comes, when it presents itself, and that is not talking to kids; it's talking to us as adults as well. Like I was saying, we go to so many different environments, like toxic environments. People come from different backgrounds, and then you feel like that's it. I don't want to wake up and whatever. But your book, it's not for kids. It's not for young adults. It's for adults as well. So it's for everybody. It's for
You read the book.
everybody.
You read the book, didn't you?
I read the book, and you know what? I can say that because I, funny enough, I know environments where I'm coming from, where people are like, you know what? This type of person has created a toxic environment. I don't want to go. I don't want even to wake up and go to work. I've had so many people, my ex-colleagues, so many people saying those kind of things. But it really is very, very important to actually know where you're going. Calm down. Just be in this situation at that time because it's not permanent, basically. Tell yourself that. Be positive enough to know that there is a next chapter for you. And people don't see that. And how do you get to see that when you are in that moment? Because the only way out is on the door. So,
The, the reality first is that the idea that grass is only green is greener on the other side. We know that it doesn't exist.
yes,
That grass is not always green on the other side. Sometimes it is, but I mean, you explained it perfectly in your summation there. Because for me, again, these books are not written from fiction, things I just kind of read somewhere. The majority of experiences there, I live these experiences every day, and I live them today, every single day. Where you have a situation at my job where I put a kid in a class, in a special education class, where we have these people who are special education special facilitators.
yes,
They make the schedule for the kids, tell us, because they read the kids IEP, and then we follow what they tell us. Guy wasn't there. I put the kid in the class. The supervisor gets mad at me, and he writes me up because he said I should have gone to other people. People were busy. But the reality, to be honest with you, if I had a choice, I would have walked out the door,
yes,
because that was, to me, a terrible thing to somebody who's trying to do their job, who come every day. And I've had a situation about employment. Every job I've ever worked, I'm a black man
yes.
who believes that it can be successful. And this is not a racial thing. I'm just talking about me personally.
Mm,
There's a lot of people who have problems as well. There's a lot of women who are being treated every single day of their lives because they are women who are being undermined. Gay people in a lot of places are being treated terribly. So the idea of that if things get difficult, you're going to run. You can, but the reality is you digging a bigger hole for yourself.
exactly.
I think the idea that we're going to be treated with respect perfectly, everywhere we go, it's unrealistic. Some of these things, even racially, you can't prove them, that people were racially discriminating you. You can't prove them. You can accuse them, but you can prove them. How do you prove it unless somebody actually says something and we have statistics? And most of the time, remember, for me as a black person, in most places I've worked, the management who run these establishments don't look like me. They don't spend weekends with me. They spend with people who look like them, their friends. So you think they're gonna choose me if I come with some ridiculous argument that this person did XYZ? No, but this is the thing that I also try to explain also to my kids, that the things that are bad things that are going to happen in life. We need to figure out how to navigate through all this storm. But the idea of work, like you're saying, stay there, apply for other opportunities. You don't have to
Yes.
tell anybody in your employment. Apply for other opportunities. If you don't have enough education, take more classes while you're
Mm.
doing this. So next year, 2 years later, you have a better degree to eliminate your competition, and you can apply for a job. And when they say, okay, we would like to hire you, and you go to your manager and say, good morning to you today. Thank you very much for the job. I have decided that I'm going to withdraw my services. I
Yes.
appreciate everything you did for me. Have a good day, and you walk out the door.
Yes. Yes.
But you know you have a job. You
Yes.
not you don't allow anger to be the one to dictate your actions. You
Yes.
allow it facts.
Because you
And
regret.
this is
Yeah,
how
you
people like
regret it.
Gandhi,
Exactly.
Mandela, we were able to achieve such great things. Most of the stuff wasn't based on their feelings. They got their feelings hurt. So then they make a decision. It's based on facts. But they realize that the mountain of difficulty they were dealing with, it needed clarity in your head. And for us, people of color, who don't, I mean, in South Africa, it's a bit different. We run the country, but even within the black people, there's an incredible amount of competition. People who
Yes.
would treat you, even with the Hispanic people in America, there's a lot of rivalry between Mexicans and Salvadorian. But this is a human struggle. It has
Mm.
nothing to do necessarily always with race.
Yes.
So as human beings, we need to. But I'm happy you mentioned that the book is also for adults,
It
because
is
in my head, I totally agree. It's also for adults, people
also for adults.
who may not have these skills, they've grown up with these skills, to be able to use them and say, hey, this is not just for my child. I can use this book.
I
So
can use
I have
this
to send you
phone.
5%. I have to send you 5% of the sales for promoting the book and mentioning something I didn't mention.
You did mention, and you mentioned, you know what? There is something there, on the 9 steps. But by the way, let me read them out for the viewers. It's believe in yourself, patience, commitment. You cannot achieve anything without being committed to it. Failure, you allow yourself some, that there will be failure along the way, which you had plenty of them. So we can't even count them
Yeah.
on this book. Then you are saying you must be resilient, and there's something that's very important here, like what we're talking about just now. You're talking, then the next one is mental toughness. How do you get your mental state to allow it to actually be in a state that there will be, to how do I put this, for it to be okay with failure. You understand? For your
Yeah.
mental state to be okay with failure, for your mental state to be okay with also that you will be disappointed, like your first trip, it didn't go, you were disappointed. How do prepare your mind to be actually in that state, to be as tough like that? Because I'm telling you right now, everything you know this, everything it stems from here. Whatever your mind tells you, your body then goes with your mind. Like same thing
Yeah.
with me. If I tell my mind, you know what, it's cold today, I'm not going to gym. At the minute I say that, then I don't, like, my body is tired, and now I have a reason. I'm saying no, my leg, I complain and whatever, because my mind was my mind told me it's cold, it's cold. Then everything summer follows, the whole body follows what your mind tells you. And you, in your book, there was a lot of cases where you could have said, told your mind that, you know what, this is it, forget it, but then
Yeah.
your mind was tough. So hence, then I'm saying what you are talking, when you talk about resilient, that's when your mind also, you need to prepare your mind for failure. So that's why I like your
Yeah.
steps. They are very important. That's why I'm saying to you, this book is not for kids. So we also need to read this book, because we have spouses. Somebody can actually disappoint you. Like
Yeah.
we married. Like all of a sudden, then poof, something happened, and then you were like maybe thinking that that person is your whole world. Will never do something like that. Then how do you prepare your mind that something like this was going to happen? How do you move forward as well after that failure? It's a huge setback, but you have to move forward. So your mind then plays a very critical role in you moving forward, or in you then saying, you know what, like you are saying, what I like what you're saying, that you know what, I can't change something when you were going through what you went through with your wife. That is the what she's chosen, and I can't force somebody to actually be in a situation or in a relationship that she doesn't want to be in. That's what you said. So when I read that, I was like, you know what, this man, there's a lot, about him, about his patience, and about where you come from, and like what you've been through, and it actually helped you in that situation. When you reach the situation, already you've been through a lot, and that, like what you said, it did not, yes, it affected you, I know, it's your family, but then it was, we already had answers. You already had answers. You were calm in the situation. And sometimes people are not as calm as you described yourself here in those situations.
So, with the step of mental toughness, the simple description in my mind is that, the ability to persevere under difficult circumstances to
Yes.
be able to achieve your goal.
Yeah.
The biggest objective for me in that divorce situation was my children. I had seen firsthand what children who come from divorced families, repercussions, because
Yeah.
when I was young, when I was 13, 14, I had 3 sisters at home who got pregnant, and one of them had twins. So we had 4 babies. Their fathers did not support them emotionally, physically, and financially. And you see this around the township. These kids drop out of high school. So that's one thing that was terrifying for me, because now I was in a situation where we're going to have to raise these kids in 2 different households. But remember, in that particular situation, my ex-wife was with me in America under my visa. She couldn't work. She couldn't be employed.
Yes.
I had this student visa, so she was under that. Now this situation happens, which I'm not going to say, because of course I still feel horrible for my boys.
Yes.
But so we were basically kind of separated. We didn't have the money to have 2 households, and I had to sleep. I didn't have to. I slept in the same bed for 5 years with no intimacy, because I had to protect my children. There was no way that I'm thinking about going and finding some woman somewhere when my kids are gonna be somewhere in some be abandoned, basically. So I stayed for 5 years. Nobody really knew except for us and maybe 1 or 2 people.
You slept in the same bed for 5 years. That's what you say in the book, and without being intimate at all.
No, and talk normally. Nobody knew. The kids didn't know at the time because they were younger. But still respected and talk with respect, because the objective was my children. It wasn't me. It wasn't about me. I would sacrifice me any day for my kids.
Yes.
Any day in a drop of a dime. So there was also a situation, though, if I lost my mind, since they were in a passport with her.
Yeah.
In the Austrian passport, she could put the kids in the plane and go back to Austria. I would have lost my kids.
And you didn't want that. I read that.
No. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
And then once you are on your boys, do you think your relationship, do you feel that your relationship with them, because remember, you were their coach and you were their father at the same time. And coming from your background as well, you wanted them to succeed, obviously. You didn't want them to be in a situation that where you grew, where you came from. So you wanted them to be where they are today, basically. They're successful today. So that was your dream. And you've actually done that. So a very good job. It's well done. Well done to you. So, but then I want to ask you, then you became a coach and you became a father. Do you feel like maybe that role, those 2 roles, at some point they somewhat clashed? They clashed at some point where you felt like you were too strong on them because you wanted them to succeed, but then you still wanted them to, you still wanted to be a father to them, but then you were very, very pushing. Do you feel like you did that at some point to them?
That was one of the toughest things I've ever had to do. Not so much difficult to just to coach the kids. But you know, when you coach your own kids, and obviously I come from a African culture where, I mean, my parents never said to me, "I love you." I didn't even know what that means,
That it means,
because
yeah.
because the love in in my culture is shown
It's
through
actions. Yeah,
actions.
actions.
Actions,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
Mm.
one. So for my kids, for the American culture, I was very, very dry. In fact, when I trained with my kids, a lot of people will go and tell the manager of the club that this is child abuse, and this guy needs to be get kicked out of the club and stuff, because I was making the kids run and train. So when the divorce thing came into play, that situation, I was obviously very angry a lot of times, and then sometimes you end up taking it out on the kids. The ones who maybe can defend themselves. But at the same time, in America, most of the parents let the kids choose what they want to do.
Mm.
And then, so my kids used to be able to see this, that the other kids have choices. Then on the weekend they play home and playing video games, and of course I made them train every day on weekends. We trained Monday to Friday to Saturday. The only day off was Sunday, and then we trained in the afternoon. They had a trainer. We went to tournaments in the summer. It was as they get older, obviously the kids start to resent you. So my
Yeah.
kids, when we went to tournaments, never spoke to me, especially my older son. He was more closer to my
To the to
ex-wife.
mother. Yes.
But there was also the situation where she verbally said this within in our meeting, that I was more concerned about the tennis than the academics, which this was the furthest thing from the truth, because the whole idea of my kids playing tennis was to use their academic and athletic ability to get to the best universities that America has to offer.
Yes.
So I came to America through a scholarship, and
Yes.
I knew the process. I also feel fortunate I didn't have to pay anybody to train my kids or babysit them, because I could train them. So there was a lot of sacrifice. So as the kids get older, they were obviously angry at me, not speaking to me. The only thing they'll ask when I drove with them to a tournament, can you stop for me to go to the bathroom, Papa, or can you buy me something to eat?
Oh
It was
wow.
very, very difficult.
Difficult.
But
Yeah.
I did not. So most of the time, that story actually breaks me, because I was angry. Sometimes I used to curse and use the bad language, which is terrible around your own children.
Yeah.
I would sometimes get so mad I'll smash a racket against the pole and break the racket. It was not good, and I regret that terribly. And nowadays I talk to them and say, I was not a perfect father. I never claimed to be. But what I did, I believed so much that we were going to get somewhere, and I had to do everything in my ability to give you the opportunities that my father couldn't give me, because
Couldn't give to me. That's
he
why.
wasn't there. He
Yeah,
wasn't
he
there. I didn't
wasn't
have a
there.
father. But this was also stemming from the fear of them not having an education as black children in America, because my kids are mixed. Their mother is white, she's Austrian,
Yes. Yes.
but in America they consider black. So I always had the fear of my children not have access to universities because we didn't have any money. And
Mm.
fortunately that worked out. But when my older son went to college, I met the at different schools that I wanted him to go to, and I talked to the coaches and they watch him play. So he got recruited. Of course, he went to Harvard. The day before he went to college, we played. The day before, he was living with my ex at the time. He had stopped living with me because he was not happy in my house. And I said to him, okay, it's okay. He was 17. I wasn't going to push it. I said, stay with your mom as long as we still train and you go to tournaments, we're good. He left. I didn't hear from him for 3 days after he went to college, after the whole arrangement with coaches and all the stuff. 3 days, didn't hear anything until I called the coach and said, hey, is my son there? And the coach says, yeah, Mr. Fish from Harvard. He says, yeah, he's here. I said, could you please have him call me? So he called me, and our relationship is improved. It's better. He's actually he helps me a lot. He logs into my computer, and he's a software engineer, so he understands computers. He logs in
Yes.
and helps me, and yells at me for
Wow.
getting something he told me yesterday 4 times. So that relationship has improved, but it was a difficult journey. It's one of the toughest things that I've ever had to do. But you know what, Penny?
Mm.
If I had to do it again to protect them, I could do
You
it at
would
a
do
drop of
it just
a hat.
like that
I mean, I won't curse at them and swear now because I've learned.
and hit
But
the racket on the wall.
Yeah, I won't
No.
do that. I'll go behind the building and smash my racket so they don't see. But
Okay.
nobody gets a book when you become a parent how to raise kids.
Yes.
We are all just winging it as we go, and hopefully we learn and don't repeat the same mistakes. But my editor says to me, Richmen, your kids are adults now. They're 28 and 30. You
Mm.
need to live and tell your story without worrying about them. They are men now. They have to figure
Yes.
out to tell their own story. But it's very
Exactly.
difficult because it's like the family thing. It's hard. It's like my heart bleeds. This is one story that makes me cry all the time about the raising of my kids. But
Yeah.
I'm so proud of them, what they've achieved. The autobiography from apartheid to the Ivy League. We talk about Harvard University, Georgetown universities. In
Yeah.
my mind, I don't really have to say. I just said that's what happened. If you feel you can top that, kudos to you, because coming from the township to go through
Yes,
this and
I did a
achieve
good
that,
job. Yeah.
it took
You did a
a
good job.
monumental
Yeah.
effort. But for them also to believe they
Mm.
can achieve and get to these things, it's unbelievable. you
Wow.
know, to believe that they can do. But I told them when they were 4 and 6, when I started giving them their first lessons, I said, "You guys, we're not playing tennis to become pros. We're playing tennis so you can get to the best universities we can get into." And they bought into it. They were really
Mm.
decent, good tennis players, and very respectful as part of our African culture. And even today, they're very, very liked by their friends and their peers. But there was the mental toughness. And I look at my story compared to Mr. Mandela, Mr. Biko, Mr. Gandhi, all these people. I'm thinking, mine is a cakewalk.
Mm.
I mean, hello.
Hello. Hello. And then the other one, other step that you're mentioning flexibility. So in my case, and the way I understood it, I was thinking that okay, flexibility meaning that yes, you have set up your goals that my goals are gonna go this direction, but then you must be flexible enough. If you can see that your goal is not, the direction is changing, then be prepared to actually be flexible enough to actually change them to a different direction. So is that what you were saying on the book, basically?
My example, very good there. You read the book. My basic example there is that we are not horses. When a horse owner put a horse into the horse the owner of the horse basically has got one mission for the horse to take this objective, this article from point A to point B. So they put blinders here so that they don't get distracted by anything coming in the back or anywhere else. They're just
Yeah,
looking forward.
yeah.
Human beings, unfortunately, nowadays as parents, we don't allow kids to try things and make mistakes because we feel they're going to go to college, we're going to pay for the 4 years, and then they're going to get out there and get a job and do all the stuff, which I think is a big mistake
Yes,
unless they choose something on their own. I think kids need to actually try things out, make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes, and they mature as they get older. So somebody chooses a career and say, "I want to study, XYZ accounting." They get into the accounting class the first year and realize, my God, this is so bloody boring. I'm sitting in my office on my own, crunching numbers all day. I don't get to speak to people. And then it's okay to change your mind,
yes,
to do something else that may be more interesting. But sometimes the parents, they write though, because people can go and study something because it sounds good. You study psychology. What are you going to do with psychology unless you get a master's or a PhD? An
yes.
undergraduate degree is
Yeah,
useless. I'm
it's
sorry, people who
useless.
study psychology.
Exactly.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not offending anybody. But the reality is a story of Mark Zuckerberg. He
Yes,
was at
Mark.
Harvard
Yes.
University. He
Mm.
was at Harvard University and he studied computer science. And he was searching for all these ideas. He discovered Facebook's. Guess what? I don't want to say he dropped out of college, but he exited out of college because he found something that he wanted to do. He didn't need
Mm.
the college degree anymore. So the idea of flexibility, people in America change their degree 2 to 3 times before they graduate.
Sure.
Because a lot of times they start with something, they declare a major just to declare a major to please their parents or their friends or whatever they think they want to do. 2 years later, they realize that they have changed.
Mm.
What they thought, they've grown, 2 years older. What they thought it was is no longer the
It's
same
no
thing.
longer the same. Yeah.
Yeah. maybe the dad want them to study something, but dad likes certain things. They realize, no, I hate this. I don't want to do this. It's okay to be flexible and try other stuff, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what job you do. After you've started the job 5 years later, it's boring. It's the same thing that we
It's
do.
the
Once you
same
master
thing.
it, it's the same thing all the time. You got to find a way to make it more interesting. So whatever job
Mm.
you're going to do, it's actually better if you like what you do, because it's
Yeah,
not then it's boring. You don't think a lot of times you're working, because
yeah.
you're interacting with people, you're enjoying what you do. So that's where the idea of flexibility. And I had my situation. I studied theater arts, and I realized after 2 years that was the biggest mistake of my life. But I didn't get proper guidance. My accent is very, very thick in America. I could have never been an actor. I would have never made it anyway. You need 2 years, you need 10 years to go and wait tables in New York or California to get into the movie business. When there's so many black people in America who have the right accent, they still can't get any roles.
Mm.
So I changed to marriage and family counseling, which eventually I changed to educational psychology to be a counselor.
Super
And there's a lot of
counselor.
people who go through that. So the idea is that it's okay to try other things. Be flexible. Don't put blinders like a horse, because you are a
Yes,
human being.
%. Yeah.
You have rationale. You can think rationally and able to change things. But sometimes people spend 10 years now not knowing what the heck they're doing,
Oh my
because they
God.
study this and study this, and let's forget some stage they want to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So
But I
that's the
think
idea behind
also,
flexibility.
yeah, and also with the kids that we are raising these days, they are, they can see so many things, so many careers, so many people making money, different ways. And now it's like my son will say that as well, Mommy, why am I going to school? I can be a YouTuber, like, and get money. That's what he says. Then I want to play games, and so is like a millionaire and all these kind of things. So I think we are raising a different generation also these days, where they are exposed to all these things, that they think it's easy to actually, get money. So, and that I like also on the book, when you're explaining wealth, there is a section where you're explaining wealth and what wealth means or is to you. So if you can
Yeah.
remember that, just explain to us again what you meant. I know I remember it a little bit. Just tell us about that. What is it? Because you mentioned a few things, that if you have this, that, then that means you've made it. That's what you
I
said.
mean, I basically in my mind don't define success based on money,
Yes.
because we've seen a lot of successful people who have money and they live miserable lives, because their concept of success get warped because they have money. They get treated differently. They expect certain things because they have money.
Yeah.
To me, success has nothing to do with having a lot of money. Obviously, I say that. Some people have said that, well, if you've never had a lot of money, you can say that. But if you had a lot of money, you wouldn't say that.
You
So
wouldn't
I've
say
said,
that.
yeah.
Yes.
At the same time, I don't think people should define their success based on money.
Mm.
There's a lot of things, for example, in my situation, um, as the cover of the book, excuse me, just 1 second.
Okay. That's a cut.
As the cover of the book shows,
Yes.
a picture here in
Yes.
the township with my brother. We're
Yes.
dead poor,
Yeah.
and the goal was to get out of poverty.
Yeah.
So if you look at my life today, I've lived a healthy life, a difficult life, but which was part of learning. But I have a career where I use education as a way and tennis to escape poverty. So that's security. I have insurance if I get sick. We don't have the best insurance system in America, but if I get sick, really sick, I can be treated. I know that. I contribute to my pension.
Mm.
My younger son started his own investment company, Zulu Dreams,
Wow.
Zulu Dreams Capital LLC, after the Zulu tribe. He invests my money. Actually, both of them do. So I have my pension. I have a house that I own. So to me, that's success,
That's success.
because
Yes.
I contribute to like a nest egg that one day if I can retire. So to me,
And you
let's
go
have.
on vacations as well. That's what you said. You
Oh,
said,
I
of
forgot the big one.
course, yes, the big
Yeah, that's
one.
another one.
Yeah,
My
that's
family
important.
growing up, we never went on vacation. I didn't even know what that meant. So I can actually be on vacation. I'm in a foreign country here. I'm paying for 2 weeks in the hotel where I'm staying. I don't have to worry if I used to go to the gas station and put gas in and look how much, $10. Oh, wait, I got to stop at 15 because next week I never filled up my gas full tank when I was poor.
Yeah.
Now I can go to a thing. I just fill up the gas. I don't even know how much it costs. I don't really care. Not that I don't care, but it's
Mm,
within what this tank can cost. I'm gonna fill
exactly.
it
Yeah, you're affording to
up.
do that. You're affording to actually fill it up.
Yes,
Yes.
I have food, but I had to work for all this stuff. It didn't just happen.
Yes.
So to me, this is how, in my mind, I define my own success. People can define their own success in their own way. But one thing
Mm,
I caution people is that do not associate success with money.
with money. Yeah.
Because once you do that, everything else doesn't count. I mean, we have
Mm,
people like Michael Jackson. We have people who've got millions and millions of dollars, and they were so unhappy. A lot of, if we want to get a little bit deeper, you see a lot of these people who've got these problems. They actually kill themselves
yeah.
because they're unhappy. A lot of suicides, a lot of alcoholism, a lot of this stuff. Because a lot of times when you have this much money, you have much easier access.
Mm,
A lot of kids who come from wealthy families sometimes are the ones who really struggle to keep things straight because they have access to money to do drugs. They get cars at 16. They don't have any reason to work hard and try harder to do things.
exactly. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna get it no matter what. So
Yeah.
it's a catch-22. We want to have money, and I'm not saying that being poor is a good thing. It's
Mm,
horrible being poor. It's absolutely horrible. People treat you terribly. I flew economy my whole entire life, cramped, traveling 20 hours to South Africa and back. Horrible. Guess what? I fly premium economy now.
yep.
And sometimes I fly business class. I can sit there, stretch my legs, and smile. And I walk in, they say, "Welcome to you, Mr. Mahlangu. Would you like a
Hello.
glass of champagne?" And I'm like,
Awesome.
"No, I'll just take the water today, please. Thank you very much."
Um,
But
I think that's very
it,
important for this book for the youth. Then what we just touched on now, because like I was saying, for them now, money and success, it can also be, like that line can be a little bit blurred because they are rushing to actually have money because of what they see. But then how they get there, how they get that money for them at this point is not important. It's made to look as if it's easy. So, and I think if we get easy money, that's how easy that money goes as well. So for them to work hard is very, very important. Whatever career that they choose, whether it gives them a lot of money or not, but for them to follow all these steps that you've mentioned in the book, once they have
well,
all that money, it's easy for them to keep it and for them to use it wisely. That is the most important thing, because
that's a
now they
that's
have
a great
all these,
point.
yeah, they have all these opportunities now that they were not there before. And some it's easy to actually get easy money, with whether it's trading, if they are smart, they can trade at a young age and have money. But if they get that money without actually working hard to get that money, I think then that's where the problems happen, like what you were mentioning just now. So that's when they happen. So they really, really need to read these kind of books. It's important for them to understand all these steps.
Yeah. What I may add to that though, uh, I think as parents we need to find a way to explain it to the kids.
Hmm.
Uh, Most of the time, as parents, we scream and yell at our kids because they living in a different time. They looking at life in a different way,
Different
and we get
way. Yes.
frustrated.
Yes.
So, for example, when I'm in my office, any kids comes in and say, let's say a black student comes in my office, and we're talking to them about, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing after high school? The number one thing the kids are going to tell me, a lot of black kids, I'm going to play in the NBA,
Wow.
which a kid could be like 4'5". He's not even that tall. I'm gonna play in the National Football League, and
Yeah.
I say, are you has anybody in the state of Nevada written anything about you in the newspaper? How good you are in football? No. Are you the
Hmm.
best player on this campus? No. How many people know about you in this state? Just the people here. So that means you're not good enough. it's very
Wow.
difficult for the kids to understand that, for example, there's probably, I think, less than 30 basketball teams in America. In South Africa, I think there's probably less than 30 soccer teams, football
Mm,
teams.
mm.
So the kids don't associate what they think, the money that these people are earning, and the number of opportunities that are available. Because if there's less than 30 teams playing in a soccer league in South Africa, that means the chances of making it are so minute. They're so
Yes,
tiny. And
they're so
same in
tiny.
America, there's very, very few people.
Mm.
Most of the kids in America, they talk about, when you talk about what you're doing after high school, they talk about football, and then I may go to college. They don't look at it. So in my family, for example, the boys, they play tennis so they could basically get the education, get a scholarship. So it was the education and then the tennis. It was not
Mm.
the tennis, So
And
a lot of, if you talk to a lot of white kids, a lot of Asian kids, where education is the number one priority, they all know they're going to college. It's a family, it's a culture, it's a
yes,
tradition, because their
yes,
parents are educated, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're teachers. Those kids want to use scholarships to get into colleges, so they're going to this college and that college to get the education to secure themselves a better future. So the idea of the importance of them using their sports as a package with the education,
education, yeah.
big thing in our community that we need to improve as parents. But remember, a lot of our parents are not educated. They
Yeah.
don't know the system. They can't read. Mine could read. So it's a, but we do need to find a quiet voice as parents when we talk to our kids about this stuff, because a lot of times we get frustrated. We realize sometimes we don't have the right articulation, the right language. Then we scream and yell, and then we angry at the kids for telling us, well, I don't have to work that hard. I could be a YouTuber. And you said, okay,
Yes,
we should sit down and find out how many YouTubers do you know, how much money they make. If it's
exactly.
like, I don't know,
Yeah.
let's say you only know two out of 10,000 people, maybe the statistics are a little bit low. But
Mm.
how many do you know that are teachers that can pay their bills? They don't make millions of dollars, but they pay their bills. They're able to go on vacation. They can do
Mm.
this.
Yes.
So let's choose a career that that maybe support you when you get out of school. And if you play a sport, use the sport to get into university. If you're good enough to be recruited, then you go to the professional level. But if you're not good enough, you finish, but you got a career.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
it's not an easy task for a lot of kids like myself who come from the low income areas, about which direction, but hey, the companies do such an incredible job about advertising, showing these people on television and living this high life, how much money they
Yeah.
have, what kind
Yeah.
of car they
Exactly.
drive, and all
Mm.
that stuff. And the kids, they want to be those people.
Mm. They feel like they are left behind if they are not there. That's the problem.
Do
Yeah.
you think do you think in America they would pay a doctor more money to listen to a doctor, or they'd rather have LeBron James show up and just throw a couple of hoops on basketball?
Yeah.
LeBron James, they pay him $20 million just to show up
Mm.
for 10 minutes.
10
We'll have a
minutes.
doctor who spent 12 years in medical school, who basically can dissect your body in his eye with his eyes closed. Sorry, we don't know if we want to pay this doctor, this amount of money that we pay LeBron. So
Oh.
the kids are
Yeah.
going against a very difficult situation with
Yes.
the
Yeah.
with the companies advertising, seeing these people smiling all the time, like they're having a great
A good
time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy one,
It's
you
not an
know.
easy one. Then you become a bad parent. Like, how come you don't move with times? Can't you see what's going on there? But then I
It's not
think, yeah,
easy
you are
though.
right. Yeah, you are right. And I think with this book, also parents can read the books, and actually talk to their kids about the book. You understand? Not even
Yeah,
let kids read the book. The parent can read the book and tell and learn a lot of things from the book, and actually raise their kids based on what they read here. So there's a
yeah,
lot. It's for them. It's for everybody. That's why I was saying to you that it's for everybody. And what I love about it is when you were showing us a glimpse, of these men or these people that have contributed to your success. Then you showed us their pictures. I was so happy to see them at the end. So
I mean, hello.
yes, 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 yes. So I was like, oh, here they are. Hello, Ray. So I was looking at them and I was like, oh my God, here is your first car that you won. And you're standing next to it. And I was like, look at Richmond, and standing there. And I was like thinking that at that time, did he even know, where he was going to end up? He didn't know, what was going to happen in future. He doesn't know that he was going to be in Austria, like on holiday at this time in his life. And there you were wearing your shorts, looking cute there, standing there next to the car. And I like the fact that you were even saying your family was not even believing that you won the car, you know?
My mom said take the car back because she couldn't believe that I won the car. She said there's no way. I don't think this has been possible. But fortunately, there was this guy who was my mentor, Patrick, because he drove with me. And then he said, no,
Yes.
I was there. He won the car. I mean, I had no license. My ex-girlfriend, who I had this British lady that I was dating. She's in the book. It says
Hmm.
my partner. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
Catherine.
Yes, I saw her. I saw a picture.
Yeah, she's absolutely the bomb. She's one of the smartest people I know. But anyway, she said the first time she read the book, we were actually kind of already dating, and she said, if I had read this book before I met you, I would have never dated you because I think the things that you've done are just absolutely insane. She called things that I did is like kind of like this completely blind innocence where I just kind of go through life blindfolded because I don't really care if I fail, I just get up and keep going. And I borrow
Hmm.
money for people to pay for this and pay for that. She's pretty sure it's kind of embarrassing to her that I borrow money to people. She's like self-independent. She said this is just like this completely just like blind innocence where you like just going through life. It's just insane things that you have done and end up with success. One of the examples was when I left Austria again with the kids
Hmm.
to America with my ex-wife. My younger son was 4 months,
Hmm. Yes,
and
I
going
read
to a
that.
country where
Yeah.
going back, I didn't even have, we didn't have a lot of money, so she couldn't work. Yannick was 4 months. Nicholas was almost two. We're going back to America. This is foreign country. She can't work there. We didn't have a place to stay. This lady used to sponsor me, Joan Kilburn, put us in the hotel, and we were there for like 6 months. And I mean, that's when I look at it today, I'm thinking, what the hell? Are you like absolutely insane? I mean,
Wow.
today I'm thinking, are you absolutely insane to actually drag two babies across the world? But you know what? I would do it again because
Yes.
the opportunities that I was searching for, they were not in this country where I am
Hmm.
today.
Hmm.
I had to go and get my education, and I was going to do that at all costs. And it was going to cause a lot of issues and headaches. I get it. But it was my job, it was my responsibility to search for a better future for my children. And thank God that it worked out. I mean, I'm not that religious, by the way. I can't believe I just said that. But I'm grateful that I pushed through this stuff. And now today I can smile and and do this. But the goal is to try and use these experiences to share with other people,
Yes.
to say, you know what, these things are possible. And we can have this full life if we try without thinking, well, if I fail, it's a setback. I can't achieve this. I can't achieve this. So I'm just gonna quit.
Yes.
It's to just keep going and
Yes,
achieving.
basically, that's what your book is all about. It's about that, your journey. And the question also I wanted to ask you, when you were writing the book or when the book was written, were you emotional? You found yourself emotional at some points when you were telling your story, when you were like, just pause, just wait. I mean, I'm not okay. As you were reliving those moments, were there like cases? Because I know how you broke down at the Pride when you spoke about Mr. I
Ooh, that was
remember
tough.
that very well. And when I was reading the book, I was like, if there's so many stories like this, I wonder when the book was written, were you emotional at some point, and how long did it take for the book to be written?
Wait, what did you think about me breaking down at the party?
You broke down at the party. I think in my opinion, in my view, I think it's because the daughters were there as well.
Yeah,
So when you saw them, you saw him. So that's
yeah.
how so the situation. When you broke down, I was like, you know what? I think she can see them. You feeling
Did
his
you feel, did you feel,
presence.
did you feel
That's
sorry for me?
that. No, I didn't feel sorry for you because I didn't feel sorry for you. I was quite intrigued. I was like, you know what? That was very genuine. When you were talking about him and you stopped, and I was like, no, you know what? It touched something now in you. Like a certain a part in your life where you are like this man. If he didn't do these things for me, I don't know where I would have been today. He whatever
My
he
niece
did.
is
Yes,
my,
exactly. So yeah, you sing Abu Jabu, and then you were like, you know what? I can see him, I can feel him here, type of thing. So that's how I felt. Even when we spoke with my husband about it, my husband said that he said he saw him, like through the daughters. That's what happened. So that's
yeah.
I didn't feel sorry for you.
My
I
niece
felt
is
your
my
pain. I felt your pain basically. That's what happened. Yeah, yeah.
my niece says to me, "Hey, Uncle Richie, it's okay for you to think we actually like that because men don't cry in South Africa, and then they want to stay tough. They want to stay tough." So I was laughing because they said they need to see that men sharing their stuff. And for me, you talk about the emotional. My story for me is always emotional because looking back and looking after I've been home, the confirmation of things that have happened until now, writing this book, I was actually because I'm revising. One of the things I'm doing while I'm here is revising my autobiography, proofreading after the editor re-edited it.
Okay.
Yesterday, there was this one scene that I was actually crying and trying to call somebody.
Gosh.
I was trying to call somebody to share the stuff with them. I couldn't get hold of my nieces. They were at the Durban race thing, whatever
Oh
you have in.
yes, 7 July. Yes.
They have in July. They were not there, and I'm like screaming and yelling, "Where are you guys? I need to share this stuff with you." But anyway, it's very, very emotional. A lot of it because a lot of it is still very raw experiences that are happening. But the story is just a testament of you know uh, you develop passion for certain things.
Yes.
And for me, it was to find a way to escape poverty, use the education in tennis, go to America, to this foreign country where I didn't know anybody. I
Yes.
didn't know anything about it, and go through it and struggle. And then, fortunately, a lot of things have worked out. The story is always very emotional. This actually, when you ask how long this took, the autobiography took 20 years to write. It was a long book
Okay.
because I hand wrote everything and eventually I got somebody to type it. So this one here is actually obviously second series because this book was published before with a bit of a different title, but I added more stuff. I got it better edited.
Yes.
Uh, so about 5 months, trying to make sure that I plan everything and doing a bit of research and talking to different people. But mostly, I look at my autobiography to use the stuff. But the stories, a lot of them are very very raw because remember, I don't talk to a lot of people about this stuff like I talk to you. A lot of
Yeah.
people just think, oh, this guy, he just got an ego. He thinks he knows something. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm just sharing my, you
I'm
know,
just
my my
sharing my story.
my
Yes.
real life story that I
Yes.
saw two kids, 4 and 6, hitting tennis balls as little ones. The next thing they're 12, 13. The next thing, one of them is the only kid from the state of Nevada who gets recruited at Harvard University in 2012.
Mm.
This is not something that happens every day, and I feel, and another one is he goes to Georgetown. They didn't realize when they were young, obviously, and then you hear the stories afterwards when they like they 28 and 30 now. The
Yeah.
stories they share about the first time they went to realize how much their lives were going to change. Not a lot of parents get to hear that from the township.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not a lot of parents from the township can say, "Hey, I sent my son to Georgetown. I sent my son to Harvard," and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying this is raw emotions where you go back. I see some of my nieces and stuff, they're struggling and all that stuff, and I realize that the decisions that I made, a lot of them were wrong, they were terrible, whatever. The perseverance. and the mental toughness and not allowing failure to tame me and stop me from pursuing this. It was all worth it, because to sit here today and have two kids who've gone to these prestigious universities, the opportunities that they have, you have no bloody idea.
Yes.
I mean, the opportunities they have compared to my life, it's insane. It's insane, the opportunities that they have. Their life, they look at life totally differently. They don't even know. They don't know what poverty is. They don't have a clue. But anyway.
But anyways, you know what? We're almost at the end of the interview. There's one thing that was a bit funny for me at the book. I laughed, That's that time when you came with your wife to South Africa. Remember your ex-wife, right? You came with your ex-wife to introduce her, and then there was a wedding and everything. But then there was a video. Then you guys were watching a video showing the parents. So I can imagine you're excited and showing your parents, here's the video. And you are saying, you're portraying that scene, that it was like a funeral, It was like a funeral. The silence, and it was like no one even asked, who's your mom here? Who's your aunt?
There you go.
And then I was finished. I laughed because I was picturing that in my mind. I was like, oh my God, I can imagine like the excitement. All of you putting the video, we want people to be excited to ask questions. What was happening here? What was happening here? Because it's a foreign country that they don't know anything about. But then they were not interested. They did not even ask. And I was thinking, I wonder how Richmen was feeling. But anyway, you develop a thick skin. I knew like what you were saying, that for you, it was like, like it's okay, something that you're expecting.
But that's where that whole hardcore racism was, because for them, they, as you said, they didn't even ask who my mother was and all this stuff. 2 years before that, by the way, I know we're gonna stop. When I first met her, before Christmas, she always gone to her parents for Christmas.
Yes.
And they called her to ask if she's gonna come, and she said, "Yeah, I'm coming, but only if I bring Richmen with me." And they said, "No, he can't come." And then she said, "Then I'm not coming." The second year later, they 2 weeks before that, they asked, "Are you gonna come to Christmas?" And she said, "No, I'm not coming unless Richmen is coming. He's allowed to come." And they said, "Okay." So I mean, out of making peace, I didn't really care that much about celebrating Christmas with them. I was feeling kind of bad for her.
Yes, for her.
Because I wanted her to go. So I went with her. They sat at the table, shaking, nervous, not knowing. But these people, it's just a lack of knowledge. They think we like black people are like these animals. So when that whole video thing happened, I mean, they never was at the hospital when she had a baby. They said they were so embarrassed. They would be embarrassed to walk with our kids on the street. But that's how deep racism is among people. So when they watched that video, it was like a funeral. They just sat there not knowing what to do, what to say, what was going on. I mean, Zulu weddings are the bomb. People are singing and dancing and doing all sorts of stuff. And for them, it was so fun. They had no idea. And they just sat there like it's a funeral and couldn't even speak.
Oh my God. And then up until it ended, and then that was it.
It was it. And then we had dinner and stuff. But 2 days later, I took a train back to Vienna. It was fine. I mean,
my God.
I went to their homes. I mean, eventually things improved, but I went to their homes for the sake of preparing for my kids. Kids are going to get older. They need the grandparents, which eventually changed. They got the husband has died some time back. The mother is now their grandmother is about 84. He's got a good relationship with the kids now, because the kids don't know all that stuff. I mean, they know from hearing from me a little bit when I get pissed off and say this stuff. But there was the thing, to prepare that they have grandparents that they can relate to. That's the only reason I went. Otherwise, I couldn't have cared less. They don't like me. Tough luck. What am I going to do?
Okay, my last question to you. I just wanted to find out, like, there is like a young boy out there, and he also does not have a father, a father or even a father figure, like in the family. And also he's reading your book, and thinking that he's so lucky he had all these people that helped him. And he's feeling that he doesn't have anybody. What do you say to that young man, that's saying that I don't have anyone to help me, but Mr. Richard, he had so many people that assisted him, and I want to get somewhere in life but I don't see anyone that can assist me like him. Like, what do you say to that boy that's reading your book and saying that I don't see anyone? What do you say to your person?
I'm saying to him, get over it.
Okay.
Get over it. You don't need to be seeing people. He needs to go out and do things. When the man walked up behind me at Wema and asked and talked to me to give me lessons, I wasn't standing there waiting to see who was watching me hit the ball against the wall. I was sweating. I was hitting the ball against the wall barefoot. And he walked up because he saw me doing what I was doing. I went to school every day and did all my homework, and my teachers were excited to see me doing the homework and helping me. Ray Schwegman did not just come to Lamontville to find me. I was at Mitchell Park going, training and practicing and doing all sorts of stuff. So the reality is, it goes with a step. Go out and do positive things.
Yes.
People are going to find you. People are watching you every day. If you go out and do positive things, people can see that. They're going to think, this kid, I mean, I went to play tennis every single day of my life. I got out of school. I went to Ewema. Sometimes there was nobody there around 3 until these men, Paulo Zul and them, Musa's father, came in the afternoon after 5 days. But I played between 3 and 5 on my own every single day. I would serve, I would practice my serve. I would go for a run for 30 minutes that way, 30 minutes back, because I wanted to be the fittest tennis player from South Africa in my age group. I wasn't sitting there waiting, who sees me, who's going to help me? No. I told about the guy who sponsored my kids. He saw me bring my kids every day to practice. So this idea of not having a father, it sounds sad. Millions of people don't have fathers, homeboy. Get out there and do things. But first thing, commit to higher education. And if you need help, go ask people. But you can't sit there and hope that people are going to just come out and find you. Awesome. They'll find you because they see you exposing yourself, to things. So stop feeling sorry for yourself. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Oh my God. That's Richmen Mahlangu. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you from Vienna here in South Africa. Penny, thank you so much for making time to speak with me today. And guys, the book is available on Amazon. You can download it on Amazon, and you can even get it on Kindle. I read it on Kindle, and it's an amazing book. Like I said, the book is not only for kids it's for everybody as an adult.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Yes, it's for everyone. It's talked to me as well a lot. So it talked to me.
Black people, we need to invest. We need to rewrite our story and invest in our children's education by you saying read to them, make them read. Yes. We can wait for the schools to educate our kids. Their job sometimes is just that the kids are not in the streets. It's our responsibility. Yes. And we need to do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. All the best. And then we will then drop the video on YouTube. So I will let you know as soon as the video is available on YouTube.
Okay. And send me the link, please. Thank you.
I will do that. Have a lovely afternoon. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.